what you had then was a change in the press. The press changed so that instead of people actually being lauded for being in a trade union, lauded for being helping their fellow man, they were called the loony left. That's what they called them. And all these great people like Ken Livingstone and Tony Benn were ridiculed as nutcases. Derek Hatton, who stood against Thatcher, ridiculed as nutcases. And we then eventually end the fucking Tory rule after 18 years. And who do we get? A bigger fucking Tory, a bigger neoliberal, who basically destroyed any chance of the left wing ever getting a grip of this country for a generation. And they wonder why people almost destroyed the British establishment. And people have to remember that, is that we're all doomed now, and we all get the passion, but a 2-year campaign almost broke down the British establishment. So we've all got to remember, we've got to keep going.
Aye, I agree with that. I mean, I can't do much for where I am, but I can assure you that there's a lot buzzing around in my head about coming home and getting involved, I must admit. I mean, I really wanted it to be a yes, because I wanted to finish up my one last year here and come home and start out and go. And that's from a personal point of view. I've got to think of like my family that are still in Scotland and all the folk I know and their wains that are coming up now as the next generation. Because I've not got any wains, but I do still think about other folks' wains. And I think the lack of a social conscience among certain members of our society is deeply, deeply troubling and deeply, deeply hurtful. And I think that it's about time these folk rediscovered their social consciences and remembered the folk that were sitting next to them. Doesn't matter what background they come from, they're still there and they're going to be there, and you're going to have to work with them. Mm-hmm. And this carry on for the Labour Party. Now that we've got a no vote, all you yes voters, come to us. Aye, right. You dream on, Margaret Curran. You dream on, because we're already targeting the seats we can get folk out.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said before, we obliterated the Labour Party in Scotland in May the 1st, in 2015. That's their mandate for independence right there and then.
Can we actually get a declaration if we get all the seats?
Yep.
If we get a majority in Holyrood, declare independence.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No, a majority in the general election.
Aye, if we get over 50% of the seats in Scotland at the general election, you can declare independence, aye.
Because even Thatcher admitted that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a huge
pipe dream then that would never happen, because the SNP never had a groundswell of support, and they would never beat the Labour heartland of Scotland. But guess what? That Labour heartland, that boat sailed a while back. And
that Labour heartland voted yes.
They put the final nail in their coffin on Thursday night.
But the thing is, Jason, and I'm sure you've all seen it, but, don't worry about the Labour heartland, because Big Red Ed Miliband, he's going to fucking save us, because he's going to make us £8 a year, £8 an hour by 2020, which is a 25p a fucking year increase in the minimum wage. Fucking fantastic.
And the rate of inflation by 2020, you've got 6 years.
Tell you, send me up for a Land Cruiser. But the good thing about this as well, I think, is that it could have easily just put everybody off politics, and everybody just could have gone, you know what, fuck this. But it's kind of seemed over time now, as the sort of result is kind of digested, it's done the opposite.
Yeah,
I'm kind of more like, you know what, fuck this, let's do it again. Let's take them on again.
See the thing as well, hopefully it'll urge, see the people in the northwest and northeast of England, like the Scousers, the Manx and stuff like that, they'll get them to try to get a bit more devolved powers for Westminster, because let's face it, they guys get shafted every bit as much as we do. The countries in the north of England, they get hee-haw compared to what London gets, and they're looking at us, and probably maybe we're just the impetus that they require to then start asking, because it was interviewing a couple of women in the news tonight, and they were saying, well, how come Scottish kids get free education or free university education? We don't down here. We should get that done here. So it should maybe get them to start asking for stuff. And then you get more of a social conscience throughout the full of the UK, and then there might be more devolved powers, and Scotland can get its independence.
Oh, aye. I mean, I think, to me, there's two answers on that. The first one is the reason why we get free education and our pensioners get free bus passes and their free prescription is because that's what the people of Scotland want.
Yeah.
Second thing is, the reason why you didn't get it in England is because the fucking Liberal Democrat Party sold out to 6 million people that voted for them in 2010, and hopefully we only get a single vote because of it. That was their number one pledge, and they fucking sold them out.
They're dead. Once they jump in bed with the Tories, any sort of staunch Liberal, that's them gone. So effectively, I don't know what Labour can what pieces they can pick up. Obviously, you've got UKIP rising, which is very dangerous. And then I don't really know what's going to happen down south, but there's certainly a movement in place in Scotland, and I don't think the political landscape will stay like this for very much longer. I think this is maybe at the final throes of the Labour Party, and I can see them hardly winning a seat.
Aye, and I think you're going to get a general election where I think probably the three main parties might well have a different leader by this time next year. Because I think the Red Ed will be gone, Clegg will certainly go, and I don't think the Tory party really like Cameron enough, and I don't think they'll be able to deliver enough a majority for him to stay on, and that means you're in Boris and Nigel territory then.
But Paul, can I just say to that, you know how Cameron's now talking about an English Parliament?
Mm-hmm.
That'll win him that election, in my eyes. That'll win him the votes he needs in England.
The one thing I'd say, Snake, is that in 2010, the Tories had an unlosable election, which they lost. They didn't win it. And that staggered me. Labour had their worst fucking election results since 1983, and the Tories still couldn't get a majority. And that means that it's because there's 6 million people who believed in Clegg and voted Liberal Democrat. Now, if you say that we were sold out, you fucking made us vote and you sold us out, what's the reason they sold out? Because they fucking jumped into bed with the Tories. I don't think the voters then jumped into the Tory vote. They might well vote Labour, and I think that's why, after about a week, Miliband, fucking Balls, all these dicks, they'll never even mention Scotland. They'll just focus on bringing the Liberal Democrat voters into their fucking electorate.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I agree with you to a certain extent, but now we've got this dynamic where they're saying the Tories are going for the English Parliament, English laws, English votes. Miliband's no doing it. And that's going to be an issue for him, as is the EU referendum, because they're all dancing to the Nigel tune down there. You imagine the effect that party has had on British politics without holding a blooming seat in the Parliament.
Right,
that's scary. Imagine they get any bloody power.
Mm.
See,
that's
the thing
where
is,
I'm worried.
Snake, the thing is, with the political landscape, and it's all cyclic, because if you go back to the start of the 20th century, it was very much you had your Oswald Mosby, the black shirts, and you had communist parties and things like that. And then politics just became a bit sort of vanilla, because after the 70s, when Labour was a staunch left-wing trade union party, when it went into the 80s, they kind of sort of modernised, and then obviously ended up New Labour. The Tories kind of moved a bit to the middle as well. So politics all became a bit vanilla, and now we're seeing like sort of ethnic tensions in England and things like that, and then you're getting the far rights coming back in again. I think you're maybe seeing a rebirth of socialism as well. So you're getting people that's getting moved further away from the centre. So maybe there would have been a place for Liberal Democrats if they hadn't jumped into bed with the Tories. You know, they could have picked up a lot of the votes, because essentially the Tory party and your, obviously UKIP, whatever, moving further out to the right, your Labour could have been reborn. So I just think the political landscape of the UK, not just in Scotland, but definitely in Scotland, and you're seeing a massive now, people that want to sort of rekindle their socialist conscience.
18,000 people have joined the SNP since Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And they've now got a bigger membership than the Lib Dems do.
Well, see, to be fair, the SNP is probably the only party in Scotland that represents the centre left.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not really a socialist party.
No, they definitely aren't. But a lot of their policies are kind of like socialist policies, you know. Some definitely aren't. But and you're talking about that offensive behaviour at Football Act is an absolute disgrace. But if 18,000 have joined it, maybe we can defeat sort of some of their policies from within.
Well, we need to. But I mean, now that Salmon's left, you're asking yourself, are they going to be strong enough? Because whatever you think of Alex Salmon,
I thought it was brilliant.
Listen to him, and people go behind him to a degree. I always thought Alex Salmon was better than the other ones doing in England. I mean, I saw a really, really interesting tweet about Salmond which said he could have joined the Labour Party because he was very left-wing when he was young. He could have done a Darling and ended up being in the Cabinet. He could have ended up in the House of Lords, and he said he would never do that. But he chose to stick up for the people of Scotland. And for that reason alone, I've always had great respect for him because he could have done all that because he was smart enough. He was talented enough as a politician.
Yeah, I've got ultimate respect for him after that campaign he ran there in the face of the full British state throwing everything at him, you know.
They tried to destroy him.
Yeah, 36 national newspapers, only one of them was on our side, and the bigots torched it on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
And see that another thing, see these bigots that were all running about in Glasgow? We're getting told off some folk don't vote for independence or Catholics will get killed in an independent Scotland. You're like, this is the Union. Look what we saw in George Square. Look at it. You're telling me that the bigotry is just going to disappear if we stay in the Union? We're going to take it on.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Pond life. What do you do?
Pure pond life. They attacked one of the councillors because he was gay. They battered wee lassies. They burned salt tyres. Folk get stabbed or something.
No, I don't think that happened. But it was.
I don't know if it did.
No, I don't think so. But at the end of the day, it was despicable.
See, when the Daily Mail on their website have got footage of that and calling it despicable, you know you've gone through the blitz.
Aye. You went a bit far there.
I know, but when the Daily Mail's saying this is shocking, you know, it's like they trade on shock. They don't trade on truth.
I don't know. So what about? So Joe, are we doing a good and bad thing?
Good and bad. I'm having some kind of. There's a fellow in the chat room having a bit of a meltdown. He's obviously not right in the fucking head, but it's funny. I've been kind of half listening to news and kind of half dealing with this lunatic.
Just ignore him, man.
It's just hilarious. Good and bad. I suppose we'll go bad or good first.
There is no good.
There is no good.
Either is.
Go for it. That's a good.
People have now woke up.
Well, I suppose so. The youth of Scotland, they done us proud, I would say.
We'll start with good then. The good is, as we say, for me anyway, the awakening. People have. I think people are going to grasp hold of politics, democracy, more firmly now, especially in Scotland. You know what I mean? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. You know, get people. Yeah. People need to be involved. Because if people aren't involved, the people, you just get taken over. You know.
Yep.
What about you, Paul? Good?
Along the lines of what Snake said, the good has been that I didn't think anyone would lift me after Friday morning, but the people of Scotland, the 45% certainly have.
Yep. I would agree with you.
You, Jason, same thing?
Forget football on this show, because that's far too important to bother about football.
All right, we'll give Snake a go. Snake, your one good thing for the week?
As I said, people waking up and getting together and hopefully turning their sights to where they need to be turning at me, you know?
Yeah. The bad. Jason, the bad.
Bad. People openly telling lies and getting away with it and getting lauded for it.
Yeah.
Just it's beggars belief.
I don't say the bad. I mean, the bad, I gotta say, on Friday night, some of the videos, I was watching as many videos as possible and pictures from George's Square, and you felt like you wanted to grab the face of somebody who voted no and just hold their face to that and go, look, this is it. This is what you've backed up, you know?
I did.
these fucking animals, you know, and that really, really disgusted me because, and I seen that guy, was it the councillor, the local councillor, who's gay?
Mm.
And fucking he got a serious mouthful like on the street.
One good thing I would say is on Saturday the animals that were rampaging in George Square on Friday night were replaced by bags of food.
Seen that,
food banks. So that's a big positive. It's not a big positive we've got food banks, but it was a big positive. The real decent people of Scotland came to George Square and laid their food parcels. And I want to add as well, a good friend of mine, Katie, her son Declan, it was his 21st, and seen it all on Facebook. Instead of getting presents off people, they got people food parcels, and he's donating it all to the Coatbridge Food Bank, who put out a plea for some food last week. So 10 out of 10, Declan, man, that's brilliant, me man. 21-year-old, and that's why I asked for presents, was food parcels, so they could donate it. So you don't get much better than that. And he would have voted yes.
Where was Snake?
Out of every bad situation, there must come something good.